Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the differences between history and historiography. In general, scholars think historiography is a fancy kind of convoluted way of saying history. But no, there are big differences between history and historiography. In this video, we are going to look at the differences between these two terms, how they are different and why this matters. Alright, let's get started. Before getting into a debate over history versus historiography and why it is matter, one has to ask a question: what is history? The question is actually far more complicated than you might think. Historians have debated what precisely history is for a long time, and will study this debate as it changed over time later in classrooms. But for now, let's focus on what historians today tend to think history is. Well, how about we just look at the definition, the definition that one notable historian has given for history. Here is what H. Carr has said history is. History is an unending dialogue between the present and the past, and the chief function of historian is to master and understand the past as a key to the understanding of present. Do you understand what E.H. Carr definition is? To define history is to look at what history is not. History is not the past. In other words, history is not simply what happened before right now. What is history and what is written about are two different things. And history isn't just the fact about the past. It's not just some random complications of interesting details about yesteryears. It's more than that. Then the last, history isn't just story about the past. History is somehow different from fictional literature and novels, much or lastly, history isn't just story about the past. History is somehow different from fictional literature, the novels, much as or not history. History is something different than that. What is history then? History is the work of historians. It is argument and interpretation. What this means is that history is not the past, it's what historians write about the past. And in this writing are making interpretations and not simply compiling unrelated facts. Secondly, history is an empirical discipline. It's based on the interpretation of evidence. This is how it's different from general novels. History is a story of the past that's fundamentally rooted in evidence. That's what it makes claims about truth about what really happened. And history is complex and continuous. There is no one history, but rather many histories. History is a collection of arguments and interpretation about the past, many of which are agreed and many which don't, because this is no such thing one definite history. The facts one come to know from the interpretations of historians with the help of the historical evidences. Historians try to get the knowledge of history to the availability of the historical evidences. What they do is once they gone through the historical evidence, they select a particular work field and analyzes it and organizes it. When an historians approach historical evidences, they put their own interpretation over the evidences. This is all about the investigation of history. Alright, then, what is the difference between history and historiography? History is the analysis of the past. Historiography is the analysis of the past. Okay, but why does all this matter? Well, the short answer is because history and historiography are fundamentally related to each other. They are interdependent with each other, and that's because all history starts with an assessment of what has been written about a topic, because what one has gone before in terms of historical scholarship. And that's really important because it's important that historians aren't just repeating the same narratives over and over again, but are finding new ways to describe and explain the past. So this is the reason to understand what is history and how it's related with historiography. That's it for this session. I hope that you now know the difference between history and historiography and how those related with each other. Thank you. Good luck. Good work.